what to expect for this week crypto market outlook. So we just had the PPI data, and it's running very, very hot. Okay, so 1%, isn't it? What was the data earlier? So yeah, inflation is going to increase again, going up. You see the PPI is 1% and 1.4%, right? Over the forecast, which is somewhere around 0.3 to 0.5%. So this is going to give a lot of challenge for the new Fed to actually cut down on the interest rate, right? This is getting even more possible with this type of scenario right now. Really impossible. Okay, and then of course, again, looking at the current situation with the stock market all-time high, yeah, and then the dot-com bubble, the AI bubble as well, everything is coming into place very, very soon. A lot of what they eat. And of course, Bitcoin is still yet to even reach around 83 to 85, right? Still within 80K. Still struggling. Now it's already down below 80K. So where's the price going for BTC and the whole crypto market? Okay, for the next 6 months from now. Okay, so again, I think we are still in a bear market. Okay, I think their lot is still to play. There's still probably more downwards, okay, of opportunity to bottom rather than hitting to a new all-time high. So how the price react, okay, the last 3 times after the Fed change its chairman, how is the price is reacting? Okay, so this is very, very important. These are all the historical data. Okay, so these are all the Federal Reserve. So if you look at the key takeaway here, look at Janet Yellen, okay, was from November 2013 all the way to December 2017. Bitcoin fell about 85%, 85.4. And then Jerome Powell first term, 2017, Bitcoin fell 84%. Well, that was the peak of the bull run, right? Peak of the bull run. I believe this one also peak of the bull run. Okay, and then second term, November, also peak of the bull run also, I believe. Okay, Bitcoin fell 77%. So, confirmation for Kevin Warsh coming in on May of 15 during the bear market. What is the outlook? We are already down 50%, right? 50, 60%. How much more downwards are we going to see? Probably below 50. Again, possible. If the historical data were to repeat, then of course I think the Bitcoin price is going to tank again to have another correction, which is most likely to be happening, as you can see. So 3 Bitcoin crashes, averaging about 82%. Okay. So 15th of May. So I've been telling you this week, have to be very, very careful. Okay, if you are buying, if you are still holding your outs, it's a thing about this type of market. Okay, so you have to really de-risk. Okay, de-risk and then try to stack more stables or dry powder during this time. Okay, so the incoming chair has personal investment in crypto, including ETH and other tokens as well. And then, according to the historical data, this is exactly when the BTC next leg down starts. This is called the moon. Observation alongside monthly Bitcoin chart mapping 3 Fed chair transition against 3 major drawdowns. So these are all the historical data. If you look at Janet Yellen, so he went down about 85%. Then Jerome Powell first term, 84. Then the second term again, 77. So how much more percentage are we going to see for the 15th of May? Okay, as I already expected, the market went up all-time high for the stock, for US, NASDAQ, and then the S&P 500. But crypto is still stagnant. Bitcoin did not hit the new all-time high, it did not even go to 90K, still stuck. Okay, so, and other individual stock also is stop performing. Only the index is performing. Okay, all right, so the pattern is consistent and the magnitude is severe enough that dismissing it as coincidence provides a stronger counter argument. Most analysts, right? So, yeah. So these are historical data. New Fed chair arrived with uncertainty. Market do not know their policy priorities, their tolerance for inflation, or their reaction function to stress. This is the issue right now. Market do not like uncertainty. So when some new Fed comes in, this is the issue. So definitely market might most likely tank. Then that uncertainty compresses risk appetite across all assets. Okay, as the highest risk, highest beta risk asset in the global market absorbs the compression disproportionately. Okay, so I think most likely the US stock market, S&P 500, is going to have a serious look into it. Look at it. So yeah, extreme all-time high. Okay, and then of course we should also look at the chart, including now. So all the semiconductors also went all-time high. It's like the 2017 altcoin season. If you look at all this, literally went ballistic. Okay, all right. So with Kevin Warsh coming in as a crypto fan, okay, the crypto skin in the game, okay, I think this most likely will be pricing everything in. Okay, price will definitely go down first. Okay, and then most likely to stabilize somewhere around Q4 at least. Okay, so hopefully we'll see the final bottom that will lead us somewhere around hopefully about 30 to 40K. Stagnant there, that is what we want. Then we can look for accumulation. I think it's going to be a long winter. Okay, so whoever said this time is different, the 5-year cycle at ISM, the more the cycle change, the more it stays the same. So nothing new. End of the day, it's the same again. Okay, so this is a thing that you can take note. And then we're going to move on. So why the price of Bitcoin has went up about 27% since April? And what could threaten the rally? So many criteria here to look into. Okay, all right. So a lot of people are mentioning sell in May and go away. Probably this is a time that the market has to prove whether is it really true or not. By the looks of it, most likely is coming close. Okay, all right. So surge of Bitcoin in the Bitcoin price since April. Okay, last month, you still it as part of the broader bear market pace, right? Because what they're saying right now is just a relief rally, short-term lower high, and then continuation towards the downside again. So crypto quants unrealized profit data shows a number of nowhere near bull market levels. Notably, as BTC value increases, rising selling pressure could threaten the cryptocurrency ongoing rally. Right? So there you go. These are the things. Even the on-chain analysts also mentioning. Okay. All right. Even the Bitcoin value increase. But where are the buyers? Okay. Rising selling pressure. Because retail is not here. They are only, it's between the OGs and the institutions are actually buying. Okay. So profit taking hits 3 months high after Bitcoin surge. You see, these are all short term. Like I said, this first half of the year, probably second half, is most likely a trader's market. It's not for investor. Like I said, short term buy to sell. Okay, so what you're seeing right now, all these alts are rallying, is just short term. Relief rally after that, most likely to top of the peak and then continuation down again. So Bitcoin went up to about 82K on 6th of May. Then as a shock to the broader digital asset, okay, first time cryptocurrency reached that level since the late January, early this year. But how much more can BTC go? Can it hit all the way to the 85K, close above that as support? And then we should see whether or not can it continue. By the looks of it, it doesn't seem very likely, right? It is already below 80K for now. Okay, so I think most likely this week is going to have a major volatility. And this is going to really pressure the price of BTC to continue to go up. Okay, this kind of sentiment, which is still bearish. So these are the things to take note. So analysts flag are coming downside risk for BTC. Okay, so look here. Monero added the Bitcoin 30-day realized profit over 20,000 Bitcoin is still a long way from 130K to 200,000 Bitcoin range typically seen in bull markets. So mentioning that the gap alone suggests the market could still have more pain ahead, which is very true. So people keep saying the bottom is in, this is going to go to the all-time high. And then if you look at it on the broader perspective, where is the market heading? Look at the monthly chart. It is still downtrend, right? Still downtrend. Okay, so what are they shading to do? Quote unquote again. Okay, so you have to be really cautious with your decision. Who you follow, who you listen. Okay, always watch what they do, not what they see. Okay, so lesson learned there. And then next, we're going to see here, they coming in from Kelp. So as you know that Kelp recently had a hack, I think last 2 weeks or so. Okay, and I think a lot of people lost money or are able to withdraw. Okay, until the Ethereum Foundation helped to step in, and even the other DeFi protocol help out to do a GoFund probably to contribute or to donate as charity to supply back the liquidity, right? So that these people can be able to withdraw or to resume operations. But if you look at it now, are we now set to resume the liquid restaking, which is the RSDH, okay, as a recovery from the 202 exploit? But again, if you ask whether you want to continue with the staking, right, that's also another concern. Lesson learned that they are not to stake during the bear market. That is thing that is happening quite often. Every single bear market, there's always this kind of issue, exploit. And then once the halt withdrawals, you're at the mercy of the platform. So what's the point? You're risking your investment for peanuts. So Captain RB said they will resume if, okay, so they got exploit about 18th of April. So almost a month there, right? Okay, but again, like I said, I think the damage has been done. Okay, then Kelp will unpause withdrawals tentatively within 24 hours after the first tranche to the layer 0. But then again, if you were to ask me, let's say if I were in this position, I would rather withdraw the whole thing and keep it into my ledger, full wallet. Right? There's no way in hell that I'm going to continue with this nonsense because I've seen it before. Look at Terra Luna, look at Celsius, you can already see how many more lessons we're going to go through, right? Like the STRC as well, micro strategy, right? Could it be the next Terra Luna? It's also quite highly possible with this type of heavy marketing that he's been doing to shield the public, to get the public investment, okay, to get hold of their Bitcoin and promise them 11%, okay? So, yeah, all this during the bear market. Why? Is because they want to have a reserve cash. They want to use other people's money to grow. That is the whole idea, right? Why on earth would they want to use their money? They would rather take a loan, rather take from the bank, or use public funds, okay, probably do some other investment, and hopefully they can able to give you that so-called 11%, right? So, yeah, right? So restoration efforts, 18th of April attack on Kelp remains the largest DeFi security breach. Okay, so this prompt RV to lead the industry-wide restitution initiative called DeFi United. Yeah, so this is the GoFundMe account, which is also known as DeFi United, right? Which raised over 300 million in ETH, which I think is really ridiculous. If you are also in a DeFi, why on earth would you want to continue to contribute, right? Knowingly that this is the whole staking narrative is pure Ponzi, I would say. Literally, I don't know how on earth that it can able to generate yield from the staking. Where does the yield come from? That is also another concern, right? So that's a problem. And I will never really support all this GoFund or whatever, because I never really want to stake. Okay, if you ask me, it's like the risk is even more higher than the reward, unless it is for the airdrop. Okay, if it was for the airdrop, probably you might want to risk a little bit to gain that much. So depending how you're going to pay the game is for the airdrop. If it's just for staking the fixed deposit, there is no point even with that. Okay, so many parties involved, not only arbitrum, RV, layer 0, all kinds of issues. And then another thing with arbitrum is that they can able to hold funds just like that. So we already seen the loophole of the arbitrum formation. You see, when there's problem, okay, in trying out desperation, what does arbitrum do? They freeze the wallet. And then what happens is they can transfer out the funds back to Kelp DAO. So what does that mean? Okay, it is not really 100% decentralized. It means they also are in control of your wallet. So already shown that this is a big red flag in the DeFi industry. Okay, and I'll never stake anymore. If you ask me, no way in hell. Now moving on next, talk about the rate cut, right? Right, we're seeing the CPI, okay, came in at 3.8%. Was last 2 days, highest since May 2023. And then core consumer price index at 2.8. Okay, highest 8 months, last 8 months since September 2025. Okay, so both numbers came in above expectation. Now, 8 months ago, the entire conversation was about how many times the Fed would cut rates in 2026. But now what you see, again, is that the Fed cannot cut with inflation at 3.8%. Okay, the Fed cannot hide without crashing the economy already. So slowing under the weight of an active war on all above 100. So you see, you get the picture here. For the Fed to cut the rate, they have to crash the economy. So what does it tell you? Okay, S&P 500 all-time high, Nasdaq all-time high. It is already giving you that kind of signal if you want to cut rates. So you have to be you have to really read between the lines. Okay, with all this data coming in, you know, is something is going to happen. You just have to be really patient rather than jumping in and aping at the top. Okay, and then you get captivated again. So this is the current sentiment right now. Okay, all right. So inflation is spiking again, 3.8. Okay, so it needs to bring it down. Okay, and now the oil also is above $100. So how are they going to cut? Then with the PPR, producer price index also went up. So it adds more salt to the wound. Okay, so yeah, bad news. And of course, I think it'll be a golden opportunity if the market really crash for the stock as well. And then crypto, I think probably will take a huge hit again, and especially for the alts. There will be no mercy for the alts. I can assure you that. Okay, they are not spared once BTC goes down. Okay, if you're still holding the alts again, I have to mention to you, you better do something about it. You cannot afford to marry your bags. Okay, especially 15th of May, Warsh comes in. Yeah, you might never know, right? The market might tank. You look at the historical data, okay, but not financial advice, of course. So move on next. Okay, talking about the stable point alert, right? About the Tether USDT. So Tether pumps another 1p, okay, into the market. It was 2 days back. The treasury minted about 1p directly on the Tron network. The Tron network is owned by Justin Sun. Okay, then this massive issuance has pushed the total USDT supply on Tron to an all-time high of 89.37 billion, which is crazy, right? So why Tron? Right, so Tron has become the preferred chain for USDT because it delivers exactly what users institutions need in 2026. Ultra low fees, probably not, maybe $1 or $2, if I'm not mistaken. Because there are other cheaper fees like Optimism on Trim, which is like less than 10 cents, right? And then blazing fast transaction, 1,000 per second, massive liquidity for trading, global accessibility, whichever. All right, so yeah, let's see. I think there are a lot of things here, not just Tron. So on-chain stats that speaks volume, right? The total USD supply on Tron 89.37, holders will be 74.1 million. Okay, and then the transfer volume is over 165p. Okay, so not sure how significant is this pump, because even on Binance also they did 500 million. 500 million on Binance, but if we look at the market, it's still down. So usually when they pump in, usually something is happening. They probably either buy using the USDT, okay, or probably they're doing something with it. So let's see about Tron, okay, because to me it's like a big chain for Tron actually, besides the USDT utility use case. Other than that, I don't see anything, okay, for the USDT stablecoin. All right, so moving on next, we're going to see here is coming in from the altcoin rotation, right? BTC rotation. Okay, so what's going to happen here? Okay, where we look at this, one risk remains. Is this the start of a real altcoin rotation or altcoin trend? Right. So since Bitcoin entered its bearish phase, most altcoin strike times have followed the same path. Bitcoin correction equivalent to altcoin volatility. The expansion led to late altcoin bursts. And then BTC distribution trapped alt through. So we look here. Okay. Right. So what do we see here? Right. Bitcoin and altcoin cycle. Okay. Price correction, altcoin volatility. And then if you look at the Bitcoin cycle here, Bitcoin season was up, altcoin correction goes down. Okay. So you know when Bitcoin season is up, altcoin goes down. Okay. Now, when you see accumulation or sideways expansion, okay, so probably that's where maybe you should see reversal for the alts for a short-term relief. Okay. So again, every time when it hits the Bitcoin season up, then the alts will start to go down again. So yeah, so the orange one is the altcoin season. So altcoin season went down. Okay. So should we see the alts continue or should we see altcoins track? That is a scary part because you're already in the bear market. So what are you buying or accumulating here is definitely short term. Alts are dead. The RWA sector has expanded massively and hasn't priced at all. There you go. So this is the thing. No matter what narrative, whether it's RWA, NFT, or DeFi, or AI, if you are in the crypto sentiment, whatever you do, you will not be spared. Okay? Price of the alt also still go down. Hyperliquid also is not spared. Look at that. Already top out at what? 42, 44. Now it's already back down below $40. So no matter how superior is the ops, none are really spared. Okay. So yeah, you gotta take into account what's happening. And then next, talk about the case of debt, right? And of course, talking about the bubble, what people are expecting. Even Michael Burry also mentioning that, this could be the major flush. Okay, so we had the dot-com crash. It was on what, 2000? The housing bubble, which is 2007, 2008. Okay. And then what happened? It went down all the way to 2001. So this is the S&P 500. And then now it went up to about 944. So everyone wants profit. Do you respect survival? That's why most traders don't last long enough to compound. That's the problem with these people. Going in, buy low, sell high, or short term, and then they get themselves wrecked. Right? You don't want to think long term. Okay, you don't just want to buy and bottom. These people like to trade. That's the problem. So when you keep trading actively like that, once the market catch you, okay, and your trades go south, that's where you're in deep trouble. So key is what? Protect capital first. You're going to be very, very careful here. You're already at an extreme high. Right? So extreme high, to what? Uncertainty. Okay, uncharted territory. You don't know what to expect. Probably you're already in a euphoria phase for the stock. So that is what is concerned. Then moving on next with airdrop. So for airdrop, we see Plume. That's season one. You can start claiming here. Okay, so 16.42 Plume, about 23 cents. So like I said, all these airdrop now are with us. I'm down over 15,000 on this minute. This is the thing about staking, about holding this out. I've been telling many times, but people just don't listen. When you claim the airdrop, at least you cover back the capital. But no, you still want to hold. Then now fast forward to now, it is already down more than 80%. So now if you decided to sell, also you feel hard pain, right? Because it's already down more than 90%. So this is what I call sunk cost fallacy. Then another claim you can go for is Superform. This is the final claim. You can able to start claiming. Okay. All right. So current price, I think it's now 16 cents. Last one. Okay. So you might want to check, right? If you've been doing this airdrop, you might want to claim your last batch. It's the final one. After that, no more. Then we're going to move on to the next drop. Okay. Move on with this. And then next, we're going to go into the coin market cap. So where are we now? 2.65 trillion. We're at 79.7. Ethereum 2.2. Again, we had XRP 1.4. Solana 92. There, Hyperliquid below 40. Gainers for today, how much? Objective, 18%. Well, one whole week is about almost 50. And then built on 9%, MSTR 7, Stacks 3. Okay, 7.3. All right, so what to take note. And we're going to look into the dominances. Okay, so you see the dominance. Where is the dominance at here? And the middle band. still trying to break free from that middle band. Then possible it might continue to rally at the top here, 64, 61. Okay, if it goes down, then this will be the spot at 58.1. Then we look at weekly. So weekly, as you can see, down consolidation pump, reversal retest candle is formed. So most likely we should see a pullback here, 59.95. And then on daily now, so you can see pullback, retest on the re-entry cell, breakdown. Okay, right. So it's below the middle band now. So probably maybe it might come back now into retest back here, 64. Then on H4, break below the middle band. So look at ETH against Bitcoin. How is ETH against Bitcoin? I think it's pretty much down. And it's going to hit more lower compared to BC dominance. Because looking at it is very, very weak. Okay, so next one will be here at 102.5.3. Then you see here. Okay, so this one here, 0.03119. Right? And then I'm going to look into here. 0.03761. Right? So yeah, I think these are the levels that you're going to keep an eye for your ETH against Bitcoin. Because like I said, for alts, it's not doing very, very well. Okay, most of them are doing well for the short term. After that, it comes down again. And this is the critical support, right? Now it's retesting again. It wants to break down. So where could be the next leg here? 0.02433. 0.02433. Look at daily now. Okay, momentum sell, pullback, re-entry sell here, 0.0287. Now in H4 also we can see, okay, pullback below the middle band, momentum sell, pullback, rejected again. So by the looks of it, is most likely to hit lower for this trade curve. And then we look at USDT dominance. So I think the dominance is looking set to hit back again for USDT. Okay, I think people are okay looking set to convert their ops or crypto to stables at the moment. If we look at it, okay, so here is the next one. Then level here, 8.072. Okay, so these are the levels that you're going to watch. Okay, you're going to watch for this kind of thing for USDT dominance. And then on weekly here, okay, okay, for weekly we can see it's below the middle band. Candlestick change of direction from buy to sell to pull back. So I think possible for the market to be pressed back here from the sell zone, 7.4. And then we look on to the daily time frame, you can see sending break retest on the re-entry sell. Let's see, if it continues to retest on middle band, there could be a chance of USDT dominance to continue. Okay. All right, it's looking set to hit higher for dominance. Let's look at BTC now, 79.8. And it's already starting to break here. Look at monthly. So we see monthly, it retests on the entry sell here for monthly time frame, 21.1. The next high is here, 21.5. And then the next support is here, 71.6. So momentum, the candlestick change of direction from buy to sell back to pre-sell, most likely to hit lower. Then if we look here, yeah, this is a W pattern, right? Double bottom. But if you look at the accumulation, okay, let's look at all the past accumulation. Okay, this was 2022. Okay, right here, August breakdown, October breakdown again. So yeah, you will get the long accumulation zone. Okay, something like this. Break, then consolidate until Q4, right? The whole Q4, ending of Q3 to Q4, whole Q4, and then slowly start to go back up again. So that's the thing. Okay, You can see this is an ascending channel as well. Ascending channel. So ascending channel like this, there's a high probability of a break towards the downside. This side setup. So not surprised if you were to retest with the band first 76.2, leading up to the support at 73.2. Right? Okay, and then on the daily time frame. Okay. Okay, daily time frame you can see here. Higher highs, high lows, higher highs, low lows. Slowly breaking below the middle band now. You can see it. 79.2. Look at H4. Price already broke past the lower BB. Let's see. The closing, very important. Will it close past the lower band? And then we're going to look for other levels to watch, which is the 79.1. And then slowly it might continue to go down. I think this is the starting of the downfall, according to the historical data. And of course, the new Fed chairman coming in on this Friday. I'm not surprised if it will go down now. Okay. And probably, to remain stagnant around 40K, 30K. Okay. So from here, from the high at 82.6 all the way to 60K, so only 27%. So if it goes down another 8,000, about another 50%, right? How about 30K? 60. So should we see 8,000, okay, 32K for the pullback for the new Fed chairman? So again, so that's BTC, and then moving on to Ethereum, DH. It's still stuck. It's not going anywhere. Again, if you look at it, retest on the middle band, retest on the sell zone, 1, 2, and 3. That one already still getting rejected. Still getting rejected, still no progress. And I'm going to look into here now. 1.7 again. 1.7, and then probably leading up to all the critical major support at around this level here. And this will give you about where? 1.1, 1.2. So it might go down there. And yeah, you're going to really consider, okay, what is your next moment of decision? Do you still want to hold, or do you want to convert to stables so that you can able to buy back more the second half of this year? Now, if you're still reluctant, right, still want to hold, then this on you. I'm telling you guys many times. I'm telling you guys many times. Okay, this is a bear market. Okay, you don't want to be smart again. You don't want to try to be smart. Because the last cycle been a backloader. This cycle you cannot afford to be backloader. So quickly, there's a lot of rejection here on the middle band. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th week already. 5 weeks in a row getting rejected. So the next level is right here. Okay, 2179. 2179. And then slowly leading up to here, 1974. Okay, look at daily now. So daily is doing what? Palm consolidation, sideways. Okay, so yeah, it's looking sideways here. Okay, and it's looking set to break down. The price already closing below the top. And it's looking set to retest low for Ethereum. Okay, momentum sell, pullback, entry sell, breaking down. So that it's weakening. Look at injective. Okay, yes. Right. So injective, we can see 5.6. Now all these are just short term, I can see. Right? Down, and then you create the relief rally, lower high, and then continue down. This most likely to be the same as well. Okay, I don't see anything that significant to really hit all the way up to all-time high. Okay, because there are a lot of major resistance to consider as well. This one will be first, this will be about $7. Okay, should we maintain this level as support, then probably the middle term next, will be about 10.8. If not, it's going to consider to consolidate for this whole year again, around this range, 2.8, around the range. 2.8 and then the $7. So maybe you might pay around here for the rest of the year before we see another rally. So yeah, not much of difference. And then what else? We got the old points, right? Like Celestia. What happened to Tia? These are the thing, stating, right? What is happening now with Celestia? You see, 47 cents, all-time high is how much? 21.17. Look at that. We're already down 97, 98%. 98%. And we're still holding. So that's the thing, right? I already mentioned, you don't want to hold out like this. Okay, time to sell, you sell. Time to cut, you have to cut. You cannot be emotional. 1.34, and then leading up to the middle band here at 2.23. Look at weekly. What is weekly doing? Candlestick change of direction from sell to buy. Short term, only short term. We test on middle band, on top BB, that's all, 55 cents. And then you can see topping tail coming up. So next one will be the support at around 3 cents. Okay, for Celestial. Okay, so last one. Something with near protocol. So I think near also went up 6. But again, if you look here, no point, right? All-time high 20.5. And now it's what, 92%? 92%. Again, 1.5, 1.54. Again, 92%. So what does it tell you? It's pointless to hold. Okay. Top BB 1.75. And then look at daily. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs again. Okay. And then this is the level, support level 1.49. Okay, H4. Okay, look at that. I think it is already top. Extreme sell. Okay. We test on the middle band. Slowly it might come back to range along this level before heading over for this time of alts. So I think the rally is over, even for alts. Once the new Fed chairman comes in, I think all this thing is going to really take a hit, take a huge hit. Okay, right. You can see already all those alts like SUI, the rally, really rally. You see, rejected, it went all the way to 1.4. Now getting rejected at 1.2. Solana went to 128, 97, 98, and now it's 91.